The San Francisco 49ers narrowly hang on to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20. Roller coaster of kicks. We've got players arguing with each other on the sidelines, but in the end, a W. Niners above 500. How did it all go down? We're giving out game balls on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers and appreciate all the new listeners as well, jumping on with us daily here on Locked On 49ers, breaking down your San Francisco 49ers. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. What was your thought process, Croc, as Jake Moody lined up to hit the game-winning field goal 2020 in the fourth quarter after Brock Purdy clocks the football and Moody is lining up after missing 3 field goals on the day? 3 of 6 in the end. Jake Moody nailed it, the 44-yarder, to win it. And the 49ers do bring home the W back from Tampa, 23-20. What were you thinking as he lined up for that kick?
I had a very uneasy feeling. And I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals. They took care of business. I'm looking at the 49ers, where they are in the standings in the NFC West. You have to win this game, and you have to rely on a kicker that looks like he kind of has the yips right now. You know, it's like a golfer when that swing kind of gets off and you can't figure out what exactly is going on. I know I've dealt with it, and I'm kind of novice at golfing, but, you know, I've started switching some of my clubs, and all of a sudden I'm like, why can't I hit this 5-iron at all? I mean, just completely missing the ball in the sense of, you know, where I was hitting it's not going where I wanted to go at all. And I feel like looking at Jake Moody, that's kind of what he's going through right now. We know he's coming off of an injury. He had that high ankle sprain, but missing 3 kicks in the game and then having to line up to kick the potential game winner, very, very, very uneasy during that time. And I think just as uneasy watching it go off of his foot and trying to, is it going in? I'm trying to guide it in with my head, like, get in there, get in there, get in there, get in there. It just all the way around, it was uneasy, but ultimately it went in, and the 49ers in ugly fashion pulled off a win.
And some of the misses didn't miss by much either, but it's exactly like golf, and they call them chip shots for a reason. The short ones are a lot easier. Those chip shots, they go a lot straighter. You start really trying to smash one from distance, and the 5-iron much more difficult than that pitching wedge. That is for sure. And it's like when you aim left, then it curves left on you, and so you try to you correct and you overcorrect. And then you aim right, and then it fades right on you. And so you're missing in both directions. So not great to miss 3 field goals, but he hit 3 as well. And the 49ers hit enough of them to go home with the victory, 23-20. I want to get into all the reasons why the 49ers still are kicking so many field goals and attempting 6 field goals in this. Croc used your advice, and I brought Jake Moody back to my fantasy team because he always liked to have the 49ers kickers because they can't put the ball in the end zone and end up kicking a lot of field goals. And it still happened. And bringing Christian McCaffrey back didn't help. But we got to go to the scene on the sideline with Deebo and Tabor Pepper getting into it. And apparently there was a lot more to it that maybe wasn't caught on camera. And it's never good when your own teammates are fighting with each other. And I think most fans would probably side with the non-kicker in any sort of a fight like that, right? Any sort of a skirmish, you'd be like, okay, who cares about the kicker, the long snapper? I'm going to side with Deebo. But I don't think it's helpful to go after your own kicker on your own football team and have guys fighting on the sideline. And I got no problem with Tabor Pepper sticking up for his kicker and having words back with Deebo Samuel. It's all just a bad look to me, Croc. I don't like any of it, to be honest with you. And Deebo Samuel didn't feel like he was in the mood to apologize about it after the game. I think it's a terrible look for Deebo Samuel. I got to be honest.
I saw a few people kind of posting some of the things that Jerry Rice was saying about, kind of getting into a fight with teammates when things aren't going well. And they're using that to kind of justify a player, essentially mushing another player. But yeah, shout out to Tabor Pepper for sticking up for Moody. If I had to guess, and we were able to just see kind of short clips of it when it happened, but Deebo must have said something to Moody, and it probably wasn't to the liking of Pepper. Pepper said something to Deebo. Deebo mushed him, and I was Deebo kind of did it like a G. He kind of like did it and like walked off, knowing like this dude's not gonna touch me at all. And I don't know if that's what he was thinking, but as he did it, a lot of times you'll see somebody kind of either mush somebody or push somebody, and then they're kind of like ready to, for a response. Deebo looked like he wasn't worried with the response at all from Tabor Pepper, but those are things that I guess would be signs of a team that I don't want to say is unraveling, but definitely going through something. And that's not something that we've seen from the 49ers. I get Jerry Rice talking about when he played and those things, but this 49ers team under Kyle Shanahan, we haven't seen that. That training camp with like Brandon Ayuk and Fred Warner, and Ayuk was defending a teammate, but it is not something that we've seen outside of training camp on the sidelines. You see it from other teams. You see players arguing, yelling at each other. Maybe even, I watched CeeDee Lamb today, and I could tell he said something to McCarthy. McCarthy didn't make a big deal out of it, but you could tell he said some smart comment to McCarthy, and definitely was something of, I'm not liking what's going on, or give me the effing ball, whatever it is. You don't see that from the 49ers. So even just to see this, whatever that was between Deebo and Pepper, and I don't want to make a huge deal out of it, it is something that we typically don't see with this squad.
Yeah, we saw in the Super Bowl with Travis Kelce and his own head coach, and it turned things around there. And hey, Moody made his next kick, so maybe Deebo did help out Jake Moody in that regard. You don't love it; it's not good, and teammates fight sometimes on the sideline, if they hug it out or whatever. Kyle Shanahan said he addressed it on the plane if they hadn't already figured it out. Sounded like Deebo was still sort of bitter about it afterwards. I don't know. So we'll find out. But you can't.
What did Deebo have to say about it?
I didn't catch what the interview was, but basically he wasn't in an apologetic mood and almost wanted to take credit for them making it after that. So I don't know. And I was like, I thought dude, can I talk about the Fox broadcast? First of all, how'd you not have a camera on Deebo that whole time as the kick goes in, after the kick goes in, show him? He should have come out, been the most excited guy, chest bumps Tabor Pepper and Moody, right? And then you're like, okay, move on. They won. They're cool. They dapped it up at the end of the game. No camera on him. No replays of the Ricky Pearsall touchdown. They're jamming off the commercials. Like, dude, show me what happened during the game. They got this crazy budget. They got like robots out here and like all this weird, like terrible comedy routines and stuff before the game starts. It's like, can you show me what's happening on the stinking field? Big thumbs down on the Fox broadcast, man. All this money and everything goes into it. Show me what's happening, man. Show me the play. Dissect what happened on the touchdown. They showed it once. That was it. And it's like, okay, you didn't even see what the route was that he ran. That Ricky Pearsall ran, I'm talking about. Congratulations, by the way, to Ricky Pearsall.
They did show a replay of it.
But they didn't show like a good angle of it, did they?
Yeah, they showed like it was on him, and they watched him kind of push up over across the middle.
Hit the crosser.
The way he caught it, his little stutter step and outrun the DB. But they only showed one view of it, and not like an aerial view of it. But they did show the one. They did show
51.
What do you think about Brady in the booth? Because I've watched a couple games with him. This was my first time listening to him call a 49ers game. I thought in previous games he was a little hesitant to be critical of anything at all, and I felt like a lot of times he kind of dropped the ball on being able to. It was like opportunities to teach us something, and he didn't do it. Or opportunities to, there was one time it was like Deshaun Watson threw a pass over the middle, and it was so low, guy had to go down and get it. And, I thought that was an opportunity to say, talk about why that ball needs to hit him in stride and the benefits of run after catch and things like that. And there was just like nothing. And in this game, he finally started to say little things. There was one pass towards the sideline, I think to Juwan Jennings, that Brock Purdy kind of airmailed. And I heard him say, "Oh, just a terrible throw." I'm like, okay, finally he's he's let loose a little bit, Brady.
Yeah.
I know he has ownership with the Raiders, so I don't know if that limits him from saying certain things about people. But you're in the booth, you're in there. They're paying you a lot of money. Can you let's talk like it's you and I a little bit. You're the color commentator guy.
You're trying, add some more color. You're called the color commentator to bring a little bit more color to the situation. Yeah, I think he's getting a little bit better. He was pretty dry, absolutely, in the first couple of games I listened to with Tom Brady. Are you trying to say that Tom Brady and the Raiders are going to try to trade for Brock Purdy so they don't want to say anything bad about him? Is that what I'm hearing?
I hope not. Not with the way that Purdy played today. He was awesome.
Anyway, congrats to Ricky Pearsall, my first game ball, his first NFL touchdown. He was really good in this game. You see him with the quicks. He was getting open on some plays where the ball wasn't going his way either. He even made a play on a third down where DB did get hands on him. It was kind of tough for him to get into his route, and he finally broke off into the inside of his route, and the throw was there, and he made the catch. 4 catches for 73 yards, and his first career NFL touchdown after getting shot just a couple of months ago. So good on Ricky Pearsall, my first game ball. I want to talk about Brock Purdy, Juwan Jennings, the return of Christian McCaffrey, and a whole lot more from Sunday's Week 10 win of the 49ers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life, and it takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, and sometimes overtime. Why is it that you need all of that fuel? Well, it's because of all those reasons, and that's why 5 Hour Energy has created Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made for the super fans like you, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. And 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for that big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list could be a mile long. Maybe there's a lot of stuff you have to get done before you can sit down and enjoy your game day. And that's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. The next segment of this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy, and Prize Picks is the best way to get in on the action of tons of sports in over 30 states, including California. And Prize Picks is the best place to get in the real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. And I talked about it being easy to play DFS and the most fun way to play DFS. And that's because all you have to do is you pick 2 or more players and you pick the more or less than on their stat projections at Prize Picks and watch the winnings roll in. And you're not playing against those 10 million other users on Prize Picks. There's no sharks in the pool that you're playing against. It's just those stat projections. And so you look at next week's stat projections, you say, Jamar Chase, more than 79.5 receiving yards, and Patrick Mahomes, you want to go less than 1.5 passing TDs maybe? Well, you can find that action, and all you got to do is download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONNFL, the code, and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. Run your game. Well, it turns out Christian McCaffrey by himself isn't going to fix the red zone woes for the San Francisco 49ers, as they still had to line up for 6 field goal attempts. Not all of those were in the red zone. What do you think about the return of Christian McCaffrey? The rushing numbers weren't great, but clearly instantly involved in the passing game is where he made his probably, that's where he got more of his yardage there. 6 catches for 68 yards through the air, 13 carries for 39 yards, only 3 yards per carry on the ground. And did he look like the same guy to you physically? Because that's the big key. And, that's a lot of touches, nearly 20 touches in his first game back with the 49ers, a ton of snaps. He was the guy out there most of the game. Did he look like the same guy? Did you see a guy where it's like, oh man, he might not be quite all the way back from the Achilles injuries he's dealing with?
I think when you look at the efficiency on the ground, a lot of people are going to say, not quite himself. has to work his way back. But when I watched him early in the game run the ball, I said, CMC. And then when you watch some of the things he was able to do in the passing game, and I talked about one of the biggest beneficiaries of him returning is probably Brock Purdy, and how, throughout this season, it's kind of been, there's been some clunky moments with Purdy where it's not quite looking like himself. And I'm like, man, you get CMC back, I bet that would help a lot with the efficiency of Brock Purdy, like knowing where his guy is, kind of that check down, kind of that safety blanket, a guy that he can figure out, a bunch of different ways to get the ball in his hands, and also a guy who is a mismatch nightmare for opposing linebackers. And I think we saw that on full display today with how Christian McCaffrey was able to really play catching the ball, and the way Brock Purdy was able to get him the ball, including on that 30-yard pass, which was a beautiful throw from Brock Purdy, kind of going backwards a little bit, put a lot of air under, and allowing Christian McCaffrey to run underneath that ball. So is he 100% himself? Maybe not. But again, I don't know how much of a drop-off it is from the run game. I just think the run just wasn't quite there. I thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did a really good job of really stifling the 49ers on the ground, but through the air, catching some passes, moving the sticks on several third downs. That was where the 49ers really benefited from having Christian McCaffrey back in the game.
By the way, 51, I meant to mention this with the Pearsall touchdown. 51, the linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he looks like he was born without hamstrings, the way he runs. Like, dude's not fast, and he's not good going backwards. And now they did an all right job corralling the run. But I think that's where, and look, my guy James Yarko, the host of Locked On Bucks, when we did our crossover this week, talked about it. He's like, this is going to be a big George Kittle game. You're going to kill us over the middle of the field is basically what he was saying. And, we did start to see some of that. And we saw numerous plays over the middle of the field. And I think the probably the most obvious one to me was getting a wide receiver like Ricky Pearsall over the middle of the field. And, great job by Brock Purdy to find him over the middle of the field, split the linebackers, and then see him run away from the guy like he's kind of standing still. And then the lob to Christian McCaffrey, unbelievable throw from Purdy, unbelievable for Christian McCaffrey to be able to find that ball in the air that's already there. He sees it and bring that down. That's a fun play. And, you're probably not going to get a lot of those with Jordan Mason, as good as Jordan Mason has been for the 49ers. That's one of the things that Christian McCaffrey brings to the table that not a lot of running backs do, to be able to find that ball in the air and track it down. And it was a great throw by Brock Purdy as well. And by the way, Brock Purdy is going to be my next game ball here. He was a little bit off in the first half with some throws, but overall, you look at his numbers and they're fantastic. And he was really good in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, as the 49ers sealed that victory. And he ended up throwing for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's the first game in his career, Croc, where he's thrown for 350 passing yards and not turned the ball over at all. 119.3 rating. So a pretty phenomenal game for Brock Purdy statistically here. And I loved him making time, moving around, the throw to George Kittle getting the toe tap in the corner of the end zone. But it was the play before where he saw Jennings, and I thought the throw was awesome to Jennings. I think Jennings had a little hiccup in his route, and it threw off the timing because the throw was there, split the defenders in the end zone. He almost had a touchdown pass on the play before the Kittle play. And so I thought it was a really good game from Brock Purdy, especially late when he settled in and helped the 49ers bring home that W.
Is it odd to see Purdy, statistically on paper, you see how well he played, but it only amounts to 23 points. And I understand, 3 missed field goals, but even then, just the red zone woes that kind of continue, or even just getting in scoring position. All right. We say red zone, but that might, kind of stretch out to around the 30-yard line or so. The 49ers just not getting the ball in the end zone a lot. And in a couple of those scores, it had to be a crazy, catch over the middle and catch and run for Pearsall. And then, Brock Purdy buying time, and then hitting George Kittle in the corner, really the only place he could throw the ball. I did watch the replay, and I believe that play was a second down throw. If you watch the replay, I think it was Deebo Samuel. Right away, boom, crossing over the middle. I think that's where the ball, like ideally in a perfect world, so you don't have to pull off like this his heroic throw. You just get the ball to Deebo right there. You probably pick up a decent amount of yards and end up around the 2-3 yard line with a third and short situation for a touchdown. So I'm not taking the touchdown away, but I would say the throw to to Deebo in the red zone will probably be more consistent than the way they did score. And I think for the 49ers, a team that is struggling in the red zone, the Deebo play is something that you probably want to be a little bit more consistent with hitting. That like Kyle will probably, when they're watching film, hey, why didn't you let this throw go right here? I think it was Deebo. Yeah. It was Deebo, or maybe it was Juwan Jennings, but it was somebody, boom, shot across the middle of the field, and you just want to get the ball in his hands, catch and run opportunity, and then, all right, let's get into our third down play. That's the coach in me talking. The results of it, though, you're not going to be mad, but that is something that you'll probably, show a coaching point for it.
Right. Yeah. It's like, great play, but why didn't you hit this that was open? And it was the earlier read. And so,
and when you think of how the 49ers have done in the red zone, it's going to be things like that is why you're not maybe getting the results that a lot of people are looking for.
And I think it's part of it. And for good and bad, Brock Purdy, he's had, higher air yards this year, has made bigger throws. The 49ers have had less yards after catch, and he's got a longer time to throw this year. So I think that's part of it for sure with Brock Purdy this year. And there's positives and negatives to that. And we
do you want more time to do you want more time to throw when your O-line isn't like, they're not great? So is that, and there were some plays where he just does have a lot of time, but I'd say on a consistent basis, it's not an offensive line that's going to hold up for a lot of time. And I don't know how consistent that would be. So with him being one of the guys that's, just throwing later in the down, is that something that Kyle might be kind of looking in on and saying, all right, like we kind of we got to fix this somehow, because in the big moments, it's going to result in sacks and the ball getting knocked out of a quarterback's hands, as opposed to always being able to, make that play off script.
I've got another game ball to give out here. In fact, I've got two more on my list. I don't know how many game balls you have on your list, Croc, and we might have some of the same ones here as we finish up this episode. Post-game, rapid react, a little bit later for you guys who like to watch us live on YouTube. And, of course, appreciate everybody jumping in and listening to the pod first thing in the morning, maybe on your work on Monday morning. I know a lot of folks love listening to Locked On 49ers daily on their commute to work in the morning as their first listen. So you're going to hear us with the rapid react at the same time you always would there. And make sure you subscribe. We're going to finish up this episode with a couple more game balls and some final takeaways from the 49ers 23-20 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. And the final segment of today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action right now with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's FanDuel Sportsbook and the FanDuel Sportsbook app, or go to FanDuelSportsbook.com. And with the FanDuel Sportsbook app, you get everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Live in-game betting, so many NFL props, year-long bets. Bet on those Niners to win the Super Bowl, defensive rookies of the year, offensive rookies of the year. What's the next coach that's going to be fired? So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you want to check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. Find it all in the same place where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Croc. I saw a couple of nominations for this player in the chat, and I do want to nominate Jawan Jennings. And is it crazy to say that the return of Jawan Jennings and the third and Jawan and keeping the chains moving, some of the plays after the catch might have been an even bigger boost to the offense than the return of Christian McCaffrey?
I think Christian McCaffrey takes so much pressure off of everyone else. But the thing that for Juwan Jennings, and he definitely deserves a game ball in this game, not just for you look at the stats, you look at the yards, he did a terrific job, some of the run after catch, but maybe some of the awareness too on that last possession. I'm thinking, oh, get out of bounds. He says, nah, like let me pick up an extra 10 yards, make this guy miss. And making an easier field goal for Jake Moody, a guy who had been struggling on the day. So I think that was an underrated play, just his decision to pick up about 10 more yards, putting the 49ers in a much more beneficial field goal position to kick it in. And obviously we watched it go in. He did a terrific job there, but just noticing how they're utilizing him. And we wonder when you have the absence of a guy like Brandon Ayuk, how is Juwan Jennings going to stand out? And how is he going to stand up to maybe some more expectations that people didn't quite have for him entering the season? And I thought he did a terrific job. Just the playmaking ability, being able to separate third and Jawan. I heard them call him that on the broadcast. I thought Juwan Jennings had a terrific game.
I have one more game ball to give out, Croc, but it's actually a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and it's less of a game ball and more of something I was impressed with. But do you have any 49ers that you want to shout out here and give a game ball to before I give some props to the team on the losing end of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Definitely. I think there's a bunch of guys on the 49ers defense that you can shout out, but I just want to shout out one more offensive player, and that offensive player is definitely George Kittle. He was targeted 4 times. He had 3 catches for 57 yards. And I just my frustration with the 49ers offense, like getting him going, he had 1 catch, 1 target, I think. And until like late in the third quarter, finally the 49ers said, okay, let's do a boot action, get him dragging across the formation, get the ball in his hands. And he takes it for a big gain. They had a nice catch and run that was along of 33 yards. Like, why are you just now figuring out a way to just manufacture touches for somebody who's such a big weapon for your team and really a mismatch for opposing teams? Like linebackers, they can't really cover them. And I don't understand why the 49ers just don't do more to just say, you know what? Like, hey, we got to get Kittle some touches. Just get him a couple of touches here and there. Because the more you get him touches, the more he's liable to do something like he did, which was outrun a lot of people. So George Kittle didn't have a lot of opportunities, but with the limited opportunities he got, he definitely made the most of it, whether it was the 33-yard catch and run or the touchdown toe tapping in the back of the end zone while maintaining concentration on staying inbounds. Terrific job by George Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, not only the toe tap touchdown, but every time he makes a catch, it feels like such a big boost to the offense and such a big play. And 4 targets is just not enough. We talk about it all the time.
If your offense is cooking, if your offense is cooking, if you're putting up 40 points in the okay, I get it. But when your offense, you got 20 points late in the game, you actually need the field goal at the end as time is expiring to get 23. How are you not getting the ball in this guy's hands more? Again, if you're killing it, whatever. You're not killing it. Your offense is getting a little stagnant. You're not putting up a bunch of points in the red zone. You got to get the ball in his hands and allow him to do something. So I don't want to gripe about the offense. 49ers won, and you did it on the road, 10 a.m. start time, Pacific time zone. I'm not going to get on them too bad, but I just feel like there should be more opportunity for a guy who is so special, led the NFL in receiving yards last year, and probably is leaving a little bit of meat on the bone.
Yeah, don't you think one of the best tight ends in the NFL could be one of the biggest factors in helping you out in the red zone too? If you've been having some red zone struggles, so yeah, feed George Kittle more, twice as many targets. Let's go. I want to give some props to Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have no business going toe to toe with the Niners, going toe to toe with and it's probably heartbreaking for the Bucs and the Bucs fans because they're so undermanned right now. and they take the Kansas City Chiefs to overtime, lose by a field goal. They take no, not a field goal. I think they scored a touchdown in overtime, right? Was it DeAndre Hopkins hit the slant for a touchdown in overtime, I believe, for the Chiefs last week. And then the Niners, they go toe-to-toe with the Niners, undermanned, and nearly come out of there. Niners end up kicking a last-second field goal to beat them again, and they lose 2 in a row, and they're falling behind now in the NFC and in their division, but they shouldn't even be hanging on with how undermanned they are. And then you got Justin School, who 49ers fans know well, that has to fill in at left tackle, and you got Bosa rushing on him, and, you got these two running backs that you're kind of just trying to get the ball out too quick and make plays happen. And he's making plays and he's stiff arming Bosa and throwing while he's getting hit. And then he gets throwing while he gets hit again later on. It's just impressive to watch him play through that. And Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator, and Todd Bowles, I think, had a good plan against the 49ers offense as well. We talked about bottling up the run with Christian McCaffrey's return. So I got to credit the Buccaneers because I think they're doing a good job just competing still with how many players they've lost because they're really undermanned right now.
Was it a little odd, like watching Nick Bosa? It was almost like he was kind of ushering him out of bounds, and he had like this smile on his face.
He was like escorting him out of the club. Take him to
I
the
was so
ground,
confused with what was going on, and then Baker Mayfield completes the pass, and you could see the expression on Nick Bosa's face suddenly change. That was a very odd play.
That was
when I think of Nick Bosa and Baker Mayfield, I think it was like Baker's rookie year and Nick Bosa chasing him down and sacking him and doing the whole flag twirling thing. That's what I think about, not whatever I saw today with him just kind of holding them and ushering them out like for 10 yards and then kind of like you could see his teeth or his mouthpiece. I don't know. That was odd.
I think you do see the one weakness, like, because Nick Bosa's got like 9 out of the 10 things that you want if you're building a defensive end in a lab. The thing he doesn't have is like length and super long arms. And I think you saw it because Baker Mayfield's not that big. He's 6 feet tall, but he's able to keep him at bay with a stiff arm. And you see Nick Bosa miss probably too many tackles. And I think he's just a little short armed. And I think you do see that sometimes on the field. And it's what keeps him from being he's maybe a step below potentially like a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt.
Another just kind of mishap. Again, I don't want to be too negative on the 49ers. They won a game that they had to have, and they did it on the road. Special teams. There was a muffed punt, and I know there were some people that were giving Jacob Cowling a hard time, but obviously watching the replay, you see, the gunner for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really just shove Darrell Luter right into the lap of the returner, making it very difficult for him to be able to catch that ball, and the 49ers nearly lost it. So those are things I think special teams in general, the 49ers, they just have to figure out a way to clean it up. How do you clean that up? I don't know. I think those are things I'm, with the new role that I'm taking on coaching high school football, I'm going to have to figure those things out, for special teams and whatnot. But that was very difficult, and I don't know how you fix that.
I have no clue how you fix that. Darrell Luter, though, it was hit off his foot in the Super Bowl too. And what's the saying? If it happened once, shame on me. If it happens once, shame on you. If it happens twice, shame on me, or whatever it is. Maybe you got to find a new guy out there. He's just not aware enough in those situations. And he just got pushed right back into the returner. And at first I thought, is that a penalty? Can you even do that? Yeah, I guess you can. Just push you can't hit them, but you can push one of the other guys into their own guy. And and that's a huge swing in a game. And the 49ers are lucky to get out of there. Like that could be a backbreaking type of a play. And that kind of stuff can happen. 3 missed field goals. Niners special teams is killing them.
I think it's making some of these games a lot closer than they have to be.
Absolutely. All right, thanks everybody.
A few weeks ago, the Seahawks game, giving up that kickoff return, kind of giving the Seahawks life. At their house. It's kind of been one thing after another. There was one of those games where they gave up maybe it was the Cardinals game? They gave up a long punt return in like a very no, it was the Rams game.
Right.
That they lost, giving up a long punt return towards the end of that game. Just the timing of it's terrible. You're going to do something like that. Like, let that happen in like the first quarter. They're giving those things up, giving those plays up in times where just the most inopportune times. So hopefully the 49ers clean up the special teams, figure it out, and maybe just let the special teams coach go and have somebody else come in with a different philosophy.
It's been 10 weeks. I don't know how much more cleaning up you can do of that unit right now after a bye week too. But Niners got out of there. They snuck out of Tampa with a win, 5-4 now. And it's going to be a fun one down the stretch. The Cardinals looking good, keep winning. They thumped the New York Jets, right? So Niners got to keep winning and keep pace. And there's a lot that they can get better at even after the bye week. But keep winning games, find a way to win the game instead of find a way to lose the game for the 49ers. 5-4 now, 23-20 win. Thanks everybody for jumping in with us post game here on Locked On 49ers. Of course, we got you covered every single day on Locked On 49ers. So subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Croc and I back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.